be showing you how to do a hot wax on your snowboard. So there's just a few tools that you need for the job. Plastic scraper, an iron, wax, and these are optional. We have a brush kit here. These brushes just make the job a lot faster getting the wax off. And then for tuning the edges, we've got this little sharpening stone, and that'll help us to just sharpen the edges. Like I said, the brushes and the edges, you know, that's an optional tuning step, but all you really need right here is to actually wax your snowboard is the scraper, the wax, and the hot iron. So first step is you want to actually remove the bindings. You can actually just loosen them as well. The point is you don't want it tight on the snowboard, because when you melt the hot wax in, you'll have indentations from where those screws are tightened in. So you can either just loosen them or take them all the way off. So that'll be the first step here. We're going to take our bindings off, and you're going to want to note here as well, if you don't know your stance, what degree you have your bindings in normally, just note that. So I know mine are at 15 degrees and 15 degrees front and back. So we're just gonna take this off. Also, you're gonna want to note the position of where your bindings are actually mounted. So you as you can see, you know, you've got could be mounted further forward or further back, just depending there. So just note how it is while you're taking it off. Take a picture, it never hurts. So we're gonna get our bindings off. Then we're gonna flip the board over, clean the base, get any residual wax off before we go ahead and melt the new wax in. Alright, next step, we're ready to clean our base, remove any remaining wax and dirt that's on the board, and get ready to put the hot wax on. So I've got, like I said before, the brushes are optional, but they're going to save you a lot of time throughout this whole process. So what I like to do is I've got the brass brush to start out here. So you can take the brass brush and just kind of go over the whole surface, loosen up any dirt, residual wax on the surface there. This is just going to ensure that your new wax is just going to adhere as best as possible. Alright, so you don't need to go too crazy. There shouldn't be too much wax to actually scrape off, because this process only leaves a tiny amount of wax on the board in the end. So we're just getting it super clean and ready for applying new wax. So now I've got just some isopropyl rubbing alcohol, and I'm just going to clean off the remaining dirt. They sell base cleaners for snowboards, skis, base cleaners, but to be honest, I found this works just as well, and it's a lot cheaper. Just gonna put some of that on a paper towel, wipe the whole board down. Once this is ready, we can go ahead and apply the hot wax. So the wax we'll be applying today is Hertel hot sauce. This is an all-season wax. Usually it lasts for gives you 2 or 3 days on the mountain usually. So make sure every time you're gonna wax your board, look at the wax you're using and it'll tell you the actual temperature to set your iron to. So this one is 189 degrees Fahrenheit. So just make sure you set the temperature on your iron to that. Otherwise, you don't. If you set it too hot, you might just create a lot of smoke and it won't work well. So we've got our iron ready to go here. I've already warmed it up. So what we want to do is you basically want to just drip the wax up and down the board. So you just push the block of wax onto your iron and you'll see the wax just dripping. So I'm just going to work my way down the board. I'm just going back and forth. Now you don't need to go too crazy and put too much wax. Otherwise that's just going to make a lot more work for you to actually scrape it off. So you just you want to cover the whole surface, but you don't need to go too crazy. So right now, see, I'm just there's probably 1 inch or 2 inches between my lines here while I'm going and just melting the wax on the board. Alright, so we've got all the wax melted on good. Now, start working it into the board. So what I like to do is, I actually like to just start at one end and just slowly work my way down. And you'll see as the wax just melts, you're just spreading the wax and melting it onto the surface here. So if you just move real slowly, you'll feel as the wax melts and it will just get easier to push your iron along. So I like to do it this way and just make a few passes like this, rather than going back and forth and over the same spots over and over again. So we've made our first pass. I'm just going to do the same thing. So I just work the iron slowly over the wax. You see, when I get over this spot, it gets a little harder to move. As the wax melts, the iron moves along with it easily. Just take your time with this process, as it really is a lot easier to just take your time and go make a few passes up and down the board than going all back and forth and you can't keep track of where you are. work it all the way down onto the ends of the board. It doesn't really matter if there's wax there or not, to be honest, because that part of the board isn't touching. But it's up to you. So we're just gonna make final pass over the edge here, and then we're pretty much good to go. I'm going to do the same thing over this edge. In case you see any spots of wax sticking up that you might have missed, go ahead and just go over that area again. So it looks like we got the board all covered. You're going to want to wait for this to completely cool down before you go to the next step and actually scrape this wax off. So you're going to want to wait minimum 20 or 30 minutes for that. You can wait as long as you want. If it's the end of the season and you're just putting your board away, that's fine too. You can just leave the wax on it, take it out next season and scrape it when you're ready to go. So that's no problem. So we're gonna let this cool off, come back here in about half an hour, and then we'll finish the rest of this process. Alright, we're back. Our board's all nice and cooled off and ready to scrape all the excess wax off. So the idea here is you basically want to leave as little wax on the board as possible so that it's just super smooth. You want only the wax that's basically melted into the board, into the surface of the board, left on there. So as you scrape this, you're actually going to feel the spots that are still having too much wax on them, and you kind of just feel them with your hand in the scraper, go over them, and you'll see as you go as you start removing the wax. So what we're going to do is just use our plastic scraper, and then to make things a little bit easier, after we do the plastic scraper, like I said before, the brushes are optional. You can just do the plastic scraper, but the brushes really make it easier and make a nice finish on the board. So you can use the nylon brush afterwards, and then for the final polishing, you go with the horsehair brush. So we're going to start scraping. Apply firm pressure. There you go. You're gonna have to just keep on doing this multiple passes. You'll see quite a bit of wax gonna come off. And you're gonna really want to make sure you have a trash can and your whole area set up to catch this wax on the other end of the board here. And I would not recommend doing this on your wood floors, because I've made that mistake in the past, and it'll make your floors slippery when you clean them later. So just prepare your floors, make sure you're ready, because this is going to be a messy process. I get a few good passes with the plastic scraper here. You can see a lot of wax is coming off. Remember what I said, you don't want to overdo it, and I probably still did put too much on, but that just means you're going to have to get a better workout, scraping it off. So after we get the bulk of the wax off, we're going to move on to the nylon brush. As the next step in the polishing. So as you can see, we've got quite a bit of wax built up here. So as you run your fingers, yeah, I can feel there's some higher spots here. It's very smooth and just kind of glides here. So you'll kind of feel the spots as you go. Just get those high spots down a little bit. So we've got quite a bit of wax off now. It's mostly smooth everywhere. A couple of spots here and there, but the brush is going to work that out. So like I said, the brushes are going to make your life a lot easier, because otherwise you'll just be scraping endlessly here. So we'll get the nylon brush here first. And what this does is, as it's also removing some of the excess here, it's starting to really polish the base. So you do this one, and then the horsehair brush next. It's going to really put that final polish on it and make the board really fast. Said putting it on the tips, or really, it really doesn't need to be there, but you know, if you did put the wax there, just make sure you get it off nicely, blend it in. So these brushes are really great, because before I got them I would have been scraping for another 10 minutes probably, and now the board is really pretty much smooth all over. So we can move on to our last step, the polishing. I got the horse brush. And this is just going to make it really, really, really smooth. So just like before, when you're using the scraper, you'll feel with the brush as well. Where it's really smooth, it just glides. See it? Where it stops, you have to apply more pressure until it's really polished, and your brush will almost just glide right across. So it's getting really smooth now. Important to get all these high spots polished down. Those are just gonna stick and slow you down in the snow. So there you have it. The board is now polished. Ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe all this excess dust off that the wax has created. And you're good to go. At this point you can go ahead and put your bindings back on. One additional thing I'm going to just show you here is want to sharpen your edges. Super easy tool to use. So you've got this block that goes inside, and that basically just runs right along the edge of your board, and you can adjust how the angle of that and how much you want this to go in or out. So basically just gonna take the board, hold the block firmly against the edge, just like this, and just go up and down the board. Apply firm pressure, and you don't need to go that many passes. You'll even see that it's just getting sharp in a couple of passes. So just go up and down the board a couple of times. So we're done with that side. Flip it over, sharpen the other side.